We are taught from day one that the only way out of a crisis is through sheer force. When you face turbulent problems, the standard playbook is simple: gather data, apply effort, and take strict control of the situation. That logic works brilliantly for fixing cars or building businesses. But the moment you point those exact same tools inward and try to control your own mind, you actually make yourself sick. Consider a healthy young man who gets a minor everyday stomachache. Instead of letting it pass, he applies the standard playbook. He goes online and begins aggressively gathering massive amounts of medical data. This expanding web illustrates what happens when he tries to exert control over his health through information. The sheer volume of data backfires. He convinces himself he has a terminal illness. His physical tests are completely normal, but he spends weeks trapped in phantom agony. Gathering information without actionable limits does not solve psychological problems. It only creates a highly detailed torture chamber inside your own head. Or take the classic story of a Zen seeker attempting to master his thoughts. He tries to suppress his natural feelings of anger and dark impulses through strict discipline and willpower. But the more he fights to lock those thoughts away, the tighter the pressure gets. Eventually, that suppression breaks him, and his emotions violently boil over into reality. Why does this happen? Why is it that trying hard and exerting control guarantees success at your job, but fails so spectacularly the moment you try it inside your head? The answer requires us to divide human reality into two completely separate worlds: the physical, external world, known in Tamil philosophical traditions as Puram, and the internal world of the mind, known as Agam. These two worlds run on opposite physics. The exact tools that guarantee success in the physical world are the precise instruments that cause our internal suffering. Let's start with the external world, Param. Out here, effort is king. Physical action is strictly required to get any kind of result. The author of the Bhagavat mission text describes a severe toothache. He went to a dentist who gave him a temporary ointment, but that surface-level fix wasn't enough to solve the root decay. To actually cure the tooth, he had to resurrect an old, painful habit, aggressively massaging his own gums. He applied sustained, uncomfortable effort every single day. 4 weeks later, the tooth was healthy. To build good habits in the physical world, you have to hold on tight and push through friction. The same rule applies to social dynamics. Imagine trying to finish a complex, highly urgent project in a room filled with 10 people who actively despise you. The stress would make it impossible to focus. You have to actively exert effort to reframe those coworkers as friends. Think of it like a baseball shattering your front window. You storm out, furious, until you realize your own child threw the ball. The anger vanishes because you actively reframe the damage based on your relationship. Out here in the external world, relentless physical effort and active mental reframing are the only ways to build a better reality. But then we cross the border into the internal world, Agam. The mind is not a muscle you can train or a coworker you can negotiate with. It is an uncontrollable force of nature. There is a Zen story about 2 men working for a highly erratic, verbally abusive boss. Worker A tries to handle the abuse by actively controlling his temper. He suppresses every insult, pushing his frustration down. Eventually, the psychological pressure breaks him. He boils over, screams at the boss, and walks out. Worker B takes a completely different approach. He simply ignores the boss. He gives the insults absolute freedom to hang in the air, recognizing that the man is completely irrational. Because he doesn't fight the noise, he keeps working in total peace. This diagram models the internal world. Attempting to control a thought traps it in your mind. The more you fight it, the tighter it winds. But giving a thought freedom, observing without fighting, robs it of its power. Left alone, it loses tension and vanishes. Fighting your own mind is a guaranteed trap. True freedom comes from letting the noise pass by entirely unacknowledged. Consider the state of enlightenment, or jhana, the clarity that society assumes takes decades of rigorous mental control to achieve. Yet influential 20th century thinkers like J. Krishnamurti explicitly argued against all psychological effort, suggesting the struggle for control is the primary barrier to peace. Ramana Maharshi went even further. He bluntly stated that achieving this science of the soul is extremely easy. In fact, the text suggests a startling claim.
This internal shift actually takes exactly half a second.
It happens the exact fraction of a second your intellect finally looks at the chaos of your thoughts, realizes it cannot control them, and simply accepts defeat. Internal surrender is not a lifelong mountain climb. It is the instantaneous dropping of the rope in a tug-of-wars you can never win. Maintaining balance across these two spheres requires a strict paradox of action and inaction. You must be fiercely active on the outside, build robust habits, gather useful data for your physical health, and actively work to treat your coworkers as friends. But you must be completely passive on the inside. When dark thoughts surface, treat them exactly like an angry boss shouting from down the hall. Just smile, keep your head down, and ignore them. This internal surrender, paired with external effort, creates a life that is both functionally effective and mentally quiet.